Thanks very much, Lorraine. One of my earliest memories as a child was watching the television coverage of the 1969 general election with my dad. I was 10. I remember sharing in the disappointment of that election setback, but picking up from him that night a remarkable sense of optimism and commitment to changing things, a commitment that so many people in this room and in this party have, that stayed with me, I have to say, ever since that childhood experience, 5 years ago. It was from my father that I got my Labour values, the ideals and the principles that shaped my life and my perspective on the world. Like his father before him, he was a railway worker, he was a trade unionist, and a Labour man. In common with many people of my generation, I was the first of my family to go to university, and it was an opportunity that I grasped with huge enthusiasm and I suppose a sense of great promise for the future. I studied sociology in TCD. I became a student activist, campaigner, a bit of a thorn in the side of the establishment. In those years, we campaigned not just on student issues, but also, because we needed to, on contraceptive rights, civil liberties, community action, and democratic rights in Eastern Europe. Later, I spent 10 years as a producer in RTE. I became quickly immersed in trade union activity, the old Federated Workers' Union, the FWUI, and I was very much involved then in the early years of SIP2. In 1994, I left RTE and started practicing as a barrister. I learned a huge amount working as a lawyer, negotiating skills, an ability to be strong and decisive, to advise and counsel, to know where to draw the line, when to fight and when to settle an issue. My principal area of work was in labour and employment law, fighting dismissal cases, discrimination and equality, injuries in the workplace. This was really fulfilling work, but I still wanted, as people in this room I know all do, to make a contribution to society through public service. I think it's an urge and a motivation that brings us together as a party. People don't join Labour for personal advancement. We join to make our country a better place. That's what I want to do, in whatever capacity I can, and drawing on whatever skills and experiences that I have. So I joined the party in 1998 in Dublin South. I've been a public representative for 10 years, elected to Dáil Éireann for the first time in 2011. Before I was appointed as a Minister of State, I was chair of the Finance Committee of the Oireachtas, which gave me really terrific insight into the Eurozone crisis at a particularly eventful time in 2011 and 2012. Then as a junior minister in the Department of Health, I delivered on Labour's commitment to legislate for the X case, through detailed negotiation with Fine Gael on the text, and then piloting the new law through the Oireachtas. I secured government agreement on the alcohol strategy, the first time ever in this country that alcohol misuse is being addressed in public health legislation. And I have been advancing our long-standing policy of universal access to primary care, and that legislation will be at committee stage in the Dáil this Thursday. Against what many people said were impossible odds, I recently negotiated a framework agreement with the IMO that will facilitate progress on this critical public health measure, something that we've been arguing about and pressing for years in this party, and we are now making a reality. It's the kind of policy area that you need to work through, negotiate, push forward, and that is exactly what I have been doing. So, why am I going for the position of leader of the Labour Party? Well, our party currently faces many challenges in terms of our organisation, our message, and our place in Irish society. Our response to these challenges cannot be simply more of the same. We need change. Change that starts on July the 4th when a new leader takes up office. And the question for our party now is whether to pass the baton to the next most senior person in the current leadership, or to shift gear altogether and choose someone who is relatively fresh, who will present a new and different image to the electorate, and who has the energy and commitment for a project of renewal. My ambition is to tackle 3 major tasks for the party in the immediate months ahead. How will we seek to bridge the disconnect between our members and the party and government? How can we ensure that our party, especially in areas where we have no elected representatives, retains a local presence and a relevance? And how every member of our party can meaningfully contribute to policy direction, our next election platform, and the longer-term renewal of our vision for a social democratic Ireland. Now, there have been serious problems, especially lately, in how business is being done in government. For a coalition government to work successfully, there must be absolute respect between the partners. There must be parity of esteem. And I intend to ensure that there is. That parity of esteem must permeate personal relationships, all decision-making processes, flows of information, the culture of government work, and, of course, the agreed programme. In short, the relationship between the parties and government must be robust and it must be respectful, and as leader, I will make that happen. As far as the next budget is concerned, there can be no question of an adjustment of the order of €2 billion, as has been suggested and as was originally marked down. We have an agreed target of reducing the deficit below 3% in 2015, and I believe we can achieve this. But there can be no more significant cuts in public spending or any more taxes or charges affecting people on average incomes. If you elect me as leader, I will ensure that this will be Labour's position for the remainder of the term of this government. The government is right to look at budgetary options for relieving the pressure on our people. Tax relief is one option that has been mentioned. But the protection of public services must be a high priority. As much as I would like to see tax relief, I do not believe it should be at the expense of essential public services. Le caici sin ish, tám sé ag taistil ar fud na tíre, ag plé le buil an fortí, agus tá sé lán soilléir, go bhfuil dearca Harbheith dúilteach sa fortí, maidir le ceist na rialtais agus ran fortíocht sa chórialtas. Tá lán caint faoi úlach, faoi dúilgus, faoi freagarthacht. Ní haon ina é sin. Tá rééis taithí na blianta seo caite, tá rééis na gníomhacha atá curtha a bhain ag an rialtas. Ach tá taobh eile ann. Tá sé rí-thábhachtach nach gentar dearmar there go bhfuil deisina a gcuin freisin. Deisina nach dugtar dúin go raibh vinnig. Deis dula I mun achorú mar hampla, achorú I bolaíoch na tíre, achorú a bhanan le cearta déine ar bhaintere, achorú a bhanan le seirbhíseacha bonúsacha cosú leis an chóras leis, rud a bhfuil sim faoi le agamsa ann. Cibé iarthóir a habhar ar an ceathrú lá de Iúil nó sa tréimhse roimhe sin. Beg nó iarthaí dulling lec le dúchláin trom chúiseacha, le faibanna faoi le bun ceisina tábhachtacha, bun ceisina a bhhanan le todhchaí an pártaí, le teachtareacht an pártaí, le agrú agus agriocht an pártaí. Sé an rogha atá ag gach ile bald an pártaí, ag gach ile duine sa seomra seo. Cinneacht an pártaí a bhrunó ar an duine is sínsere sa cinneacht atá ann hana féin. nó duine a hawa a go bhfuil an fuineh aige dulling lec le tionscanmh athnúcháin a bharthaigh 5 bliain ar a laiad. Mar a dúirt éimeann agus sé a gairí as a fust mar ceanara, tá gá le go nua ag an microfón. Tá sé ar mo chumas, agus beag méid sásta an go sin a chur ar fáil má thabhain sibh mise mar ceanar ar an bártaí ag tús na míosa seo cuain. Go raibh míle maith agat.